Sell me this pen.
This is the only tool you need to change your life. I'll show you 10 ways in which you can do this and also convince you can change any relationship with it. Number 1. The Detest Fest. The film director Quentin Tarantino, in his mid-20s, felt like his life was not heading in the right direction. He credits using a pen and paper to change the trajectory of his life.
I would have a Quentin Detest Fest where I'd stay up all night long, and rather than give myself excuses, I would look at everything that I'm fucking up in my life or everything I'm not doing or whatever and just nail it. And I would spend like all night laying out everything I'm doing that's wrong, and then I would spend the last 2 hours figuring out how I can change it.
I kind of feel like I've done similar exercises to this in the past, and whilst I wouldn't necessarily call it a detest fest, I have found this to be very useful, almost cathartic. But the most important part is the final process where you think more strategically about how you're going to implement change. Freeform writing. At the end of 2024, lead singer of Coldplay Chris Martin went on Loose Women, and he talked about a writing exercise he does every single day, which he credits with improving his mental health.
If you take a piece of paper and a pen for 12 minutes every day and you write down everything that's bothering you, after 12 minutes you rip it up or you throw it away or you burn it. It's a very good way of, first of all, working out what's going on for you, releasing the things that you'd really like to say but you can't, and it sort of cleans everything. And I do it every morning and it's a miracle, yeah.
For me, I find this really useful on days when I need to be creative, either when I'm filming something or especially when I'm writing. It's almost like a filtering exercise where I'm able to just get rid of all those unnecessary or intrusive thoughts that are going to prevent me from thinking clearly in the day ahead. The splurge list. This is just one page where I write down everything that I need to remember to do that day. I don't like to call it a to-do list because that kind of makes me feel under pressure to accomplish everything that's on this list. So the splurge list is literally me just putting everything that's in my mind onto the page in front of me so that I don't forget it. The mind is not a good place to store things that you need to remember. And whilst I don't have a to-do list, I do have the opposite of this, which is a done list. You may have come across the famous clip of Admiral William McRaven who said,
"If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed."
The idea behind this is that you take a very small step and you complete your first task. This then creates momentum and it encourages you to complete the next task and the next task. This is a very similar idea to the done list. If I'm feeling particularly unmotivated or I find that I'm procrastinating, I will often just open up my done list and I write down some of the things that I've achieved that day. When you start writing down all of your small wins or your small achievements, that creates momentum and therefore encourages you to do the next task. The handwritten word. One of the things which I've kept from my childhood is an old memory box. Essentially, this is just an old shoebox, but inside it I have lots of photographs, and the other thing inside this box is lots of letters. The care and attention that goes into writing a handwritten letter or a card is far more effective and for me is infinitely more gratefully received than any form of digital communication. In the year leading up to my 10th wedding anniversary, every day I wrote down the little things that I noticed about my wife that I was grateful for, the throwaway moments that perhaps she didn't think I'd paid attention to. Over the course of a year, I ended up writing a whole book. When I eventually gave this to her as an anniversary gift, she said it was the best present she'd ever received, more significant than anything money can buy. I got this idea from Darren Hardy's book, The Compound Effect, but I genuinely believe that you can improve or change any relationship by simply using a pen. Thoughts and ideas. If you are anything like me, you will not remember your best ideas unless you write them down. And I love having a bank of old ideas that I've collected over the years. More often than not, when I go back into these, that's what compels me to make something creative. But the most important thing is to make sure that you write them all down. Document your life. Before I go to sleep, I will spend 5 minutes writing down no more than a couple of sentences, outlining what I think is the funniest or most memorable or most story-worthy moment from that day. Back in February this year, my mum was rushed to hospital having had a brain seizure. For a period of about 48 hours, we didn't know whether she was going to live or die. When I got home from the hospital that night, this is what I chose to write as a highlight for that day. Bought a coffee for Dad and me at the hospital. I couldn't carry the milk sachets, so put them in my trouser back pocket. Promptly sat down and milk dribbled down my arse crack. So even though this was one of the very worst days of my life, this is how I've chosen to remember it. And I like the fact that in years to come, I will look back and I'll read this, and that will be the highlight of that day. This writing exercise comes from the author Matthew Dick's book, Storyworthy. Food diary. A few years ago at Easter time, I remember being incredibly frustrated with the amount of chocolate I was eating. Instead of trying to make significant changes to my diet, I simply started writing down everything that I was eating in a day. Without doing anything else, I was able to completely overhaul my diet by simply bringing a level of consciousness to everything that I was eating. 3 key tasks. I personally don't plan out my working day in great detail, but what I do is I write down my 3 key tasks I want to achieve that day, and I'll do this the night before. If I get nothing else done during my working day apart from those 3 key tasks, I will still feel like I'm on track. I've been doing this 3 key tasks exercise for a number of years now, and I think there's something quite magical about the number 3, and often I'll use this as a journaling prompt at night to write down 3 things that I feel grateful for each day. And extending this further, sometimes during the working day, I will only check my email on 3 occasions. Habit tracking. I find that simply using a pen is the most effective way for me to stay on track with my habits. So if I go into my journal here, you can see I have my habit tracker that I've set up for June. Down the side, I have the days of the month, and across the top, I have the habits that I'm tracking. On the right-hand side, we have the highlights, which is essentially less than a sentence talking about what the highlight of that day was. And across the top here, I've color-coded my habits that I'm tracking for the month. So in green, we have running, squats, 2-minute plank, press-ups, calf raises. Every time I'm successful with doing these habits, I put a cross in the box. And I really like having all my habits laid out in this way. One of the things I really like doing is actually just looking back and seeing previous months, seeing what my highlights were, seeing the habits that I was tracking and how successful I was with that. And if you'd like to know more about how I set up this habit tracker and why I credit it with stopping my infinite scrolling habits, then watch this video here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.